everybody, and welcome to round 4 of the Community Super League. I'm Gabby Sparks, joined by Aaron Forsyth, and you have yet to play, right?
I have yet to play.
Did you bring a spicy one?
Yeah, it's a little tweak on something, so I hope people like it.
Yep. It should be fun. It should be fun. And these have been good matches, man. I got destroyed this last round.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, I think I probably shouldn't have kept my second hand, but I think the first game, especially with it being in the dark, I thought Progenitus might be good enough, and then I just got absolutely obliterated, so.
Yeah, the Kenji and Wedge were saying you were just a dominant favorite in that matchup, and then lo and behold, didn't work
Yeah,
out.
no, I mean, if I were to probably call it a bunch of times, I would put myself winning a number of times. But yeah, the second keep was not great, and then the first one, I just.
Well, you did.
Yeah, it was just really fast. Prof was really fast. Yeah.
He had 2 spell pierces, and you had 1 live Hypergenesis in your deck at that point because you drew 2 of them. So it was.
Yeah,
near impossible for you to win. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I was gonna win that. I tanked for a while because I was like, I should anger the gods away here, but he's been playing like he has spell pierce. I'm like, I guess a lot of people don't know how the cascade interaction works. Like everybody's fallen for that at some point. Like they've countered the cascade spell instead of actually countering the spell.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, might as well.
Yep, you got to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have deck lists, and we have players who are ready to play here in round 4. Can we pull up one of our players' deck lists, please?
Perhaps a Hypergenesis list?
Indeed.
No.
Just kidding. We have a loading ready run, and they're playing the Storm Scale, aka, if I'm not mistaken, I think they've brought in the most number of banned cards out of anybody.
This is the banned list smorgasbord right here. Multiple red mana rituals in Rite of Flame and Seething Song that are banned, and then both Ponder and Preordain, which are banned, and then of course they have the ubiquitous Mental Misstep hiding out in their sideboard. So lots and lots of powerful things going on here.
Yeah, this is a very cool Storm deck. It's basically, Modern Storm supercharged. It's got so many banned cards, so...
Oh, and Treasure Cruise. Don't forget Treasure Cruise.
Oh, yeah. Treasure Cruise indeed is banned. This is gonna be a really cool one.
Yeah, so they've claimed to be able to win on the first turn. I'm guessing in their practice games they've
been goldfishing.
Yeah, with rituals into Manamorphose and Pyromancer Ascension and whatnot, and just go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, Rite of Flame is definitely a card that will let them go off on turn 1. So is I mean, pretty much the whole deck. Honestly, this is cool. I really hope they get to do their thing.
Their kills are 2 Grape Shots and 1 Empty the Warrens. I'm assuming they're not going to attack anyone to death with Goblin Electromancers.
Yeah, not usually the mode that you see Goblin Electromancer in. And coming up, we also have Marshall. And Marshall, I believe, is also on... I like this. It's not go big or go home. It's go big and go home.
That's right. This deck looks very similar to yours.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so... But Marshall was able to add a couple of things that are kind of cute here. He did add the 1 Mistraven.
Yeah, he originally submitted his deck with Mana War, which is one of his signature cards. But it was pointed out that that's not actually allowed in Modern, banned list or no. That card's older than Modern. So he went with Misraven. We'll see if that actually comes up.
I think Misraven mostly there for style points, but this is very similar to what I'm playing or what I was playing, except he's also included Ulmog, the Infinite Gyre. He's got the Trasons as well, Force Immune Spirit Guide, same thing. Emrakul and Grizzlebrand and Dragonlord Kolaghan. The one difference is that he's playing 3 Urbrask the Hidden, which means that a larger percentage of his deck will have haste.
Yeah, that gives all of its creatures haste, and all his opponent's creatures come into play tapped, should that ever come up.
Which actually helps him a lot, because this is a kind of matchup where he actually wants to go pretty fast. Like, playing against the Storm deck, you give him 1 more turn to untap, and it might be, life or death. Especially with a deck that's trying to go as fast as Loading Ready Run. So, yeah, the Urbrask might be very, very important here.
I'm sure, yeah, this is going to be I could easily see this game lasting no more than 3 turns on either side.
Yeah, I imagine that being on the play in this specific matchup is going to be really important.
So Marshall's got the 10 Cascade cards. Is that what you had as well?
Yeah, so you pretty much play like all of them. It looks like he's playing less Demonic Dreads and more Violent Outbursts. You kind of want to do that because you don't always have a target. And in the case of Loading Ready Run, they're only giving them like the Goblin Electromancers as a target for Demonic Dread. So You want the Arden plays and the Violet Outbursts are just a little bit better. And he actually has a lot of really. We'll talk about the sideboard when we go into post board, but Marshall has a really interesting sideboard against Storm.
Yeah, Leyline of Sanctity seems really powerful.
Yeah.
Only one ban card in this deck, Hypergenesis, but that's the whole shebang right there.
He has Grizzlebrand too.
Is Grizzlebrand banned in
No,
Modern?
no, no. Grizzlebrand is not banned in Modern. He's not.
Okay,
Never
it's like,
mind.
wow. He's
Yeah,
banned
so
in
it is just
Commander.
Hypergenesis.
He is banned in Commander.
He is banned in Commander. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I should know this. I played this deck. Yeah, it's just Hypergenesis. It's mostly that Hypergenesis enables a deck that is otherwise like unusable. Like this deck doesn't exist without Hypergenesis. So it's less about the number of banned cards and more about how broken Hypergenesis is. When I was goldfishing this deck, every time I was playing with it, it was just like, oh, I didn't understand at first why Hypergenesis was banned, and I goldfished for it a little bit, and I was like, oh, I get it. This would be horrendous.
Hypergenesis was one of the cards that we had banned from day one of Modern, just because it was so obviously ridiculous with Cascade.
Yeah.
I guess the closest thing that exists in the format now is Living End, which kind of tries to do a similar thing, but you have to do a lot more setup with cycling stuff into your graveyard.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it sounds like our players are actually ready to go. So let's get down to the feature match area. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to round 4 of the Community Super League. We have the match of Marshall Sutcliffe versus Loading Ready Run, and it is Go Big and Go Home, aka Hypergenesis versus the Storm Scale.
And you were watching No Banned List Modern.
Yikes! Take a look at Loading Ready Run's hand. First of all, they took a mulligan just now, and they have a mountain and 3 Gitaxian probes,
which is actually probably keepable, knowing that you know those few life points against Hypergenesis it's not going to matter. I guess they don't know what they're playing against.
But they don't know what they're playing against. They could be playing against Burn, you know.
Right.
Yeah. This hand is painful too, but assuming that they can find I mean, yikes. I don't know. This is one of the hands that you're like
right. I think super
excited to keep.
If they know the matchup, they're going to keep it pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
Just hope to draw into a blue mana out of one of the 4 cards they'll get to see on their first turn. Marshall, on the other hand, how close is he to doing something crazy?
It's definitely a mulligan. He had 1 land, not even a Simian Spirit Guide. He wasn't close. The deck needs to function on 3 lands or 2 if there's a Simian Spirit Guide. So if you're just at 1 and like you have things like Compulsive Research or you have Forbidden Alchemy, but those also cost 3. Like you can't have any of the cheap draw spells because you don't want to cascade into them.
I don't even think he's playing Forbidden Alchemy or anything like that. It just looked like Cascade cards, Hypergenesis, and
gotcha.
Features. So he does have the turn 2 Cascade, assuming there's a target, like you pointed out with the Violent Outburst.
Violent Outburst doesn't need targets. It's,
okay. Right. Demonic Dread's the target.
It's Demonic Dread, so yeah, he will be able to.
Okay.
Oh, and this is kind of cute about Loading Ready Run playing Gitaxian Probe in a no moderate ban list, is that they actually get to see what's going on in their opponent's hand, and in this format in particular, that's really valuable.
All right, so they get to see that Marshall can play a turn 2 Hypergenesis to put out a couple of lands.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate keep for Marsh because he definitely keeps it, but he kind of has to like dirtle around a little bit. Oh, but yeah, that's kind of exactly what he's looking for. Dragonlord Kolagon.
He's going to need a couple more good creatures here in the next couple of draw steps. I have to look up Dragonlord Kolagon.
He will give your team haste. It's a 6/5, and he has a second ability that doesn't come up very often. Actually, it might come up against.
It seems good against the Pyromancer Ascension.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually it might come up against Storm.
Oh no, nope. It says whenever an opponent casts a creature or planeswalker spell with the same name as a card in his or her graveyard, that player loses 10 life. So unlikely.
Somehow an Electromancer manages to go to the yard.
All right, LRR found their blue mana with the first Gitaxian Probe. And now they're going to string together a bunch of cantrips.
So
you can set up.
I think it's Ponder. I can't quite see. It's a little small. It's Chivalry, Pyromancer's Ascension, and Ponder.
So the Pyromancer Ascension seems pretty good with multiple probes and multiple preordains in their hand.
Yeah, and since they found a land up, they took the Pyromancer's Ascension. Yeah, that's gonna really help them out here, especially with all those. Yeah, the redundancy in their hand actually is gonna be very beneficial now. The interesting question that Marshall has here is whether or not he wants to go off here on turn 2, and like he doesn't gain. He's not assured to draw any of his big creatures, so he just gets a 6/5 in play with haste here if he goes for it. It looks like he's gonna.
He
Yeah.
does, but that's going to let LRR put their Pyromancer Ascension into play for free as well.
Yeah.
So will 6/5 haste be enough? I'm guessing it will not, but we'll see.
But interestingly enough, Loading Ready Run kept all these Gitaxian probes, which they're using at some point. So the fact that they are going to be taking 6 from Kolagon here, like their clock might change by 1 turn or 2.
Yeah.
That could really help Marsh, though it's not. It's unclear how quickly they can start going off here. It really depends on what they draw off these. Are you much of a Storm player, Aaron?
No, I would never
No?
play this deck. No. Nope. This was not for me. I'm trying to figure out when the first time they can trigger Pyromancer Ascension is going to be.
What's in there yet are already a Ponder and a Probe?
Yep. So.
Oh, there goes the Pyromancer's Ascension.
So just probe, right? We'll turn on the Pyromancer Ascension?
Yeah. All right, so there's Kolagon. Let's look get in here. Yeah, so oh, that's right. It's 7 powered. Wait, why did they take? Yeah, so flying haste other because you control have haste.
Right. So they were at 18. They took 6 and probed. Is that right?
Yes.
You're right. So why did they take 1 more damage? All right.
Oh, violent outburst. Duh.
Oh.
Yes,
there it is.
We figured it out. Yeah, they took 1 extra for violent outburst.
Cascade card actually does something.
Yeah. You're used to those Cascade cards just like not doing anything.
All right, so the quest of the Pyromancer Ascension has been fulfilled by casting multiple spells that are already in their graveyard, so now they get to copy every instant sorcery that they play.
Yeah, so presumably they can, I mean, depending on what these draws look like, they could start trying to go off here.
So the way this deck's going to go off...
They don't get another turn, so they have to. They're kind of in do or die mode here.
Right, so they're looking for rituals, just Rite of Flames and Seething Songs to double, to make tons of mana, and then use these card drawing spells to fill up their hand.
Looks like they did find a Seething Song somewhere in one of those ponders. And it's another Pyromancer's Ascension and Preordain.
I think what they really would love to get here is a Manamorphose. Doubling that card with Pyromancer Ascension is kind of the secret sick play of the Storm deck. Of
the secret sauce. They took one of the Preordains.
Washing your mana into whichever color you need and drawing 2 cards.
Alright, so another Preordain, and they do get to copy this one too since the Ascension is live. Looks like Shivan Reef, another island. Oh, there's a Manamorphose.
I don't think they get to...
Unfortunately, they're floating nothing right now. Well, they do get to cast another Preordain. Have they played a land? They've played a land this turn already, correct?
Yes, they didn't have any lands to put into play with Hypergenesis, so I think they're...
Man, had they had some lands to play in
here.
Hypergenesis, there's the Rite of Flame.
I think they have to pass here. But this looks great for next turn.
They don't have a next turn, though. They're at 6.
They don't have another turn.
They can keep trying to going off. If they have Rite of Flame will give him enough mana to Manamorphose, and Manamorphose will loot them again. So they can still keep going. Because they're going to copy it, and then that one's going to see that one in the graveyard. Yeah, so they have 4, so they get to Manamorphose and still have 2, and they'll make 2 blue. So they're still alive. Yeah.
Right. No, very much so. Like I said, I don't play Storm. I guess I would have been more attuned to my life total and not stopped if I was the one playing this deck. So
Yeah.
good for them.
But the problem is,
go.
I guess they still have those 2 preordained, so they can keep going for a little bit of time. They are trying all lands, though. They just drew a land. Another land, Faithless Looting. All right.
That's great. Faithless Looting is going to be great here.
Now also their Rider Flames are starting to get a lot better because they already have the first one in the yard.
Here's where this deck is just one giant puzzle. Marshall's just going to sit there and wait and see what happens.
Ooh, so there's
done
Empty
all
the
he can.
Warrens.
Empty the Warrens is not going to be good enough.
Right, so they need to find Gut Shot here.
Yeah, Grape Shot, yep.
Or Grape Shot, rather, yeah. So much Gut Shot in the earlier matches.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Grape Shot. So here they make a choice. They can put the Electromancer in play if they think they have enough mana to keep trying to go off, or they can just keep trying to do so. I'm not sure if they necessarily need to do that at this point since they are copying all their spells, so it does make them a little bit cheaper. It will make this a little bit cheaper. I guess Preordain's not so much.
All right, now they... Yep, they're going to copy the Seething Song.
Yeah, the Seething Song is a big game here. They are running out of blue mana. That is a concern.
One last blue mana, and they're going to have to try to find another Manamorphose. Do we know what the storm
I think they found
right
it
now?
Yes, they did! Oh my god! Wow. They could have been done. There it is! I assume storm counts close to being high enough. It's got to be close to being high enough.
No, we have to get it all the way to...
It's 11 is storm count?
To get it all the way to 18 or 17 to kill them with Grape Shot.
There's another Seething Song.
So it copies...
Yeah, they're going to get there.
Ascension copies the Grape Shot.
Yeah, they're gonna get there. They're good. Now they're just still going for style points here.
But
wow, this was turn 3.
When you copy the Grape Shot, you're not casting it, so the storm trigger does not happen. I believe is what's going on there.
More Seething Songs.
Right, the chat tells me that I'm correct there. Thank you, chat. You have to cast the spell in order for the storm trigger to happen. Pyromancer Ascension copies it, which does not.
Yeah, at this point, I doubt that they're going to fizzle, though. They have enough. Like, they found Treasure Cruise just now.
They have 27 mana at least. Yeah, and a Treasure Cruise and more Manamorphose. Okay.
Also, the nice thing about Manamorphose is that it's not is it only free here, it's also drawing them extra cards, too, so...
Oh, it's better than free. It gives you mana and cards.
Yeah, so they took, what, Cruise and Manamorphose? Yeah.
Alright, it's academic at this point. This is the power of Storm on display here.
Yeah, this is great. This is... You know what was cool about this game, too? Rite of Flame is the reason that they kept going in this game. They were going to fizzle.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah, they were out. And it was Rite of Flame that actually got them back in.
The funny thing that them being able to put their Ascension into play off the Hypergenesis is what allowed them to win on turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
So Marshall hoisted on his own petard there a little bit.
So if Marshall would have had one more creature...
Yep, one more...
That isn't
5-power creature.
Urbrask. Yeah, that isn't like Urbrask. Or, I guess, Mistraven? He could have had Mistraven, too.
That would have been terrible.
So as long as
I'm going to guess
he sides he might have won, because we know that Loading Ready Run couldn't have gone off without having to pay life for both of those Gitaxian probes. So any 6-power creature would have actually gotten him the game.
Yeah, 5-power. The Violent Outburst.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, so I guess the Urbrask counts too.
He's a 4/4.
Yeah, but he gets the...
Right,
he gets the... Oh, no, he's at 6. You're right. So, yeah, Urbrask still does not count. And Mistraven still doing nothing.
What's the storm count up to now?
It's it's
Oh,
it's
come on.
plenty. They're just going off.
23. 23.
They could go for style points and play Empty the
The thing is, they
Warrens.
could go forever.
They have
They
14
could
cards
just
left. They
draw
could
every card in their deck. Yeah.
show me your hand. Oh, Hypergenesis? Yeah, I don't care. It's just a question of how low they actually want to go. Oh, there it is. Why wouldn't they empty the Warrens first? That would have been sick.
Okay, Marshall's not going to let all these grape shots resolve. Okay. Sideboard time. So you pointed
Yes.
out some of Marshall's goodies there.
Yeah, so Marshall actually has like pretty good protection against Storm, which is cool. I know I didn't have any of these cards on my sideboard, so he has the 3 or 4, I think, is what I see, Leyline of Sanctity, and he has 3 Leyline of the Void. And so Leyline of Sanctity shuts down Grape Shot, and Leyline of the Void can shut down Ascensions and Rite of Flames too.
Right.
Yeah, so that kind of means that if he happens to have any of those, it looks like he's boarding out some of his Cascaders, some of his Cascade Enablers. I wonder if he's going to board out the Mistraven or is just going to keep them there for style points. So so he's bringing all 7 of those. He took out all of his Simian Spirit Guides. Don't know what else he would want to cut, but I feel like having Simian Spirit Guide is pretty good to try to raise Storm, so I'm not sure how I feel about... Oh, he did take out Mistraven, no!
Of course. So Loading Ready Run has obviously no idea that Marshall's bringing in a bunch of ley lines, but even if they did, they don't have any way to get them off the table.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was a little surprised that Loading Ready Run doesn't have
an Echoing Truth or something.
An Echoing Truth, or, yeah.
I guess, yeah.
There's nothing... They actually have no way to interact with a ley line.
Right. They have Hurkyl's Recall, Remand, Lightning Bolt, Pyroclasm, Mental Misstep, Counterflux, Is It Staticaster, and Shattering Spree. So if there's a turn 1 ley line, which there looks like there will be,
yeah,
it is not going anywhere.
Well, this one's a Leyline of Sanctity, so at least Leyline of the Void still lets them try to combo off, but they are going to have to go off with Empty the Warrens.
Right.
And the other thing that's unfortunate too is like that's a slower kill than just trying to grape shot somebody, and that actually matters a lot, especially now that Marshall's going to be on the play.
Right, it's going to give Marshall a turn.
Yeah. Oh, it's so unfortunate. It looks like Marshall doesn't have... So he kept the ley line, but he doesn't have a single Cascade spell. He did board out some, and he also has Emrakul and Ashen Rider. So if he manages to find one of those two... Oh, he has Traxodon too. So if he finds one of those, he's in great shape. If not, this hand doesn't do very much. So let's see. There's Leyline of Sanctity. If Leyline...
Probe is turned off, is that right?
Yeah. So if Leyline of Sanctity is in your opening hand, you may begin with it in the battlefield, so it did, and basically Loading Ready Run can't target Marshall with spells. So
okay. They can probe themselves.
They can probe themselves.
Always unpleasant. But, you know, when you got to do what you got to do.
You do what you do, that's what you get.
That's right. I guess that's better than never casting it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it could be dead in their hand, so I think in this case they're not really complaining. Though it is unfortunate that they can't see what they're up against in this game. So they're gonna keep probing themselves. It looks like they found a Past in Flames. You really want to find something like an Ascension too, or like an Electromancer. This hand's not doing a whole lot.
Someone in the chat asked if copied grape shots can target Emrakul. No, he has protection.
Yeah.
Cannot be the target of colored spells or something like that.
Yeah, Emrakul has protection from you. It has protection from colored spells is the actual text. Oh, Remand? Oh, wow, and Marshall also found one of his Cascade Enablers.
Oh, Remand is going to be pretty
Holy
nice
cow.
against that.
It only slows them down. It only slows Marshall down for 1 turn, though.
Well, no, if they
he
Hypergenesis...
he bounces the Hypergenesis. Wow, so that's actually going to be huge.
Right, we'll have to find another Cascade spell in order to try that again.
Wow, that's going to be beating. Marshall might just lose for not having another one. Though he does play a lot, so it's not unreasonable. Oh, but they did find a Pyromancer's... a Pyromancer Ascension.
I assume that if they remand his Hypergenesis, he'll just suspend it and try to win with it the old-fashioned way.
Wow, it's funny because Remand is such a great counterspell, but usually like it sets you back a turn. In this case, it's going to set him back a lot.
This is all assuming he ever gets the third land to do any of this stuff.
That's true. You gotta believe. You gotta have faith.
Yeah, right. Neither of them are doing much.
Have you played No Modern Ban List before?
Nope,
Or is this
and I
the first
still
time?
haven't played it. The first time will be in the next few minutes.
That's cool.
There's been a lot of good articles and videos about it, so I feel like I mostly know what's going on.
Oh no, here it comes.
It looks so promising, doesn't it?
It does. Oh my gosh, my heart is breaking. This is gonna be brutal. There
You will
it
get to
is.
have an ardent plea in play.
Oh my goodness.
Which is the upside here.
Loading, ready, run. Get him!
Ouch.
And Marshall gets to keep the Exalted. The instance of Exalted, there's the Ardent Plea. Not doing a whole lot right there.
So Hypergenesis does not have a mana cost. It can't be cast normally. It can only be... the way it was designed was that you would suspend it for 3 mana and 3 turns, and then you would get the Eureka effect when it came off suspended 3 turns, combined with the Cascade mechanic, which flips through your deck until you find a spell that costs 2 or less, and which Hypergenesis technically has a converted mana cost of 0, you get to play it immediately. That's what he tried to do there. The Remand put it back in his hand where it cannot be cast.
The interesting thing is that the card itself is not what's broken or the reason why it's banned. It's the Cascade mechanic that actually enables it, which is kind of interesting. It's an interesting distinction because otherwise, like, the card's fine, you know?
Yeah, and if you actually had to play it the way it was written, yes.
Right. Play it the honest
Totally
way.
fine. Yep.
So it looks like they have 1 counter on the Ascension, and they have 6 mana floating. So this Past in Flames is going to be pretty good. The Manamorphose also helps them fix their mana. So they should be able to... They're in really good shape. If they can find and empty the warrens and just keep trying to go off, and Marshall has no way to interact with that, it will be just 1 turn, Marshall passes, he can't play anything, pass back, attack, kill.
Right.
Okay, so the Ascension's online.
And they have a bunch of red mana, which is great for
Yeah, they have...
Manamorphose.
I mean, they're in great shape, especially with having the Ascension online before they actually cast the Manamorphose, because the a problem that this deck runs into is being able to generate a lot of red and then just running out of blue, which can happen. So it looks like, yeah, here they're going to be able to copy Manamorphose, make a bunch of blue.
Oh, they have past. Did they cast Past in Flames? Is that what's
They
going on?
did, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at their hand. I'm like, where are these cards coming from? Past in Flames, kind of a modern take on Yawgmoth's Will, which is one of the most powerful cards in Vintage. So that you cast spells out of your graveyard. This is, at least just gives instants and sorceries flashback, so it cuts down on the types of cards you can use it with, but casting a bunch of instants and sorceries is exactly what this deck wants to do.
This is sick. They're really doing it. Now it's just a matter of time until they find it. Do we know how high storm count is right now? We do not, but we will find out soon.
It only needs to be 10 if their plan is empty the warrens, and I'm sure that by the time they find it, it will be 10.
Oh, Treasure Cruise.
Even if Marshall draws as something that lets him Hypergenesis.
Yeah, so what happens if Marshall, like, hyper draws one of them? He could...
He can make...
Assuming that they play Empty the Warrens this turn for enough, he could blow up enough of his lands with Terrastodon to make...
We can make 6
Yeah,
blockers,
you
kill a
can make a
goblin.
lot of blockers, plus Emrakul, plus Ashen Rider, and blow up the Pyromancer Ascension.
Well, he could, yes, or blow up one of the goblins, depending on how many they made.
It's non-creatures with Ashen Rider, so it's definitely
Okay.
gonna be the Ascension. And he can also get a Leyland in play.
Ashen Rider exiles target permanent, so it
Oh, is it target permanent?
could be a goblin.
Oh, there you go.
So they need to make 26 or 26 goblins, 28 goblins to be safe.
This is when it would have been really nice for them to have had something like a Disperse. Because they could just be able to bounce that ley line.
Right. They don't have anything like that.
Yeah, they can't interact with it at all. It's nice to have something like that too in this kind of deck, because you can just draw your whole deck, basically.
Right. I'm sure it's fairly typical for these Storm decks to have some way to get a troublesome permanent off the board. I'm not sure if they just didn't consider the possibility or felt that between their 2 win conditions they could handle anything that was thrown at them. They found the empty.
Yeah, there it is in the corner.
So.
Yeah, so storm count right now is 15.
More than enough.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Marshall does have 1 turn.
Marshall can. I doubt he sided in his anger of the gods, but man, wouldn't that be a sweet draw?
Yeah, I think we saw him everything he sided. He sided out all the mana monkeys, and he brought in all the ley lines, and he boarded out the poor Mistdraven. Alright, so yeah, this should pretty be much the game. Marshall has 1 shot. I wonder how differently this would have gone if he had actually opened with Land of the Void.
That would have been huge.
Yeah, how does Loading Ready Run interact with that? Like, it's just incredibly hard for them to go off with Leyline of the Void in play.
They don't get to ever get the Ascension. They just have to actually cast 10 spells in a turn the honest way.
Yeah.
And empty, which seems really hard.
It's just so hard. Like, the deck fizzles. Like, the deck can keep going when it finally gets something like the Ascension going or, like, the Past in Flames.
Right.
But when you don't have that... There it is. Okay. One-time dealer. Let's see what Marshall can muster up here. Wow.
They have a Remand in hand, but they're not going to have enough mana.
Well, the thing is now they've made...
no, they do. They have the Electromancer.
Is the problem. The problem now is that they've made too many goblins, so...
I'm saying, even if you drew Anger of the Gods, they can Remand it because they're Electromancer.
Oh.
So, there's no outs here.
No outs. Poor Marshall.
Not a good week for Hypergenesis.
Yeah.
We're looking at a couple decks here that can kill on turn 2 or 3 very easily. It's kind of the line we don't want to cross in Modern. These decks being good invalidates so many other strategies that.
Oh yeah, I think
had to take some action against some of these cards.
Oh no, he's gonna suspend Hypergenesis. Bless your heart, Marshall.
There you go. 3 turns, just 3 more turns. Don't attack me. I want to show you something cool.
Oh man, how much is he getting hit for here? Like, wow, negative 24.
Awesome.
Oh wow, Marshall fought to the bitter end. It reminds me of that comic I've seen at some point where like you're playing against the Storm player and it's just a bubble of like what the person's thinking and you're just like, I wonder what it's like outside right now.
Right. When's dinner? Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume I'm dead at any moment. Just tell me.
Yeah, not a great showing for Hypergenesis. So, taking a look at WoW, the left column is kind of dominating. We're kind of cursed here over on the right column. So, Aaron, this bodes well.
I like it. The fix is in. The left side.
Looks like I was gonna say, it looks like you're ready to take it home. Let's see if left side gets to sweep. I think we had this like previous week too. I think we had one of those sides just like I think
I don't
4-1.
know if it ever went
It was
5-0.
never perfect, but it was like 4-1, I think.
To go for it.
Yeah.
For it.
Yeah, that
Wow,
was sick.
LRR technicians with the Storm
Yeah.
deck. I was impressed.
Storm Technicians. That was cool. That was cool. It was good seeing the deck do its thing.
To a
Yeah.
T. The fact that they have, Leyline on the first turn and only one card in their deck that can win the game, and they find
Yeah.
it with these, and that's
Yeah.
monstrous.
Well, that's what Storm is good at, right? Storm can draw its whole deck,
Yep.
so even if it is just one card, they can still manage to win in that situation. So that was cool. Good match on both ends. Hypergenesis got a little smoked this week, unfortunately for me and Marshall. But good luck to you, Aaron, in the
Thank
next
you.
round. Hopefully you're victorious. I'm excited to see what you played. We will be back with more Community Super League after these messages.